Hey, Smarty Pants! Want to do more than boycott Chick-fil-A and Hobby Lobby? Want to use every dollar you have as a force for positive change? Here is your guide. Wallet Activism by Tanja Hester. In this book review of Wallet Activism by Tanja Hester, I'll tell you what wallet activism is, generally what you'll learn about, and what I thought of it, so you can either run out to the library or your nearest bookstore and buy a copy, or don't. Full disclosure, I like Tanja Hester a lot. I followed her on Twitter for years. I agree with her in her political stance on many divisive topics. And I was excited when I heard she was writing this book that is like this guide that I've kind of been looking for years, because it is so tricky to try and spend your money in line with your values. I was hoping that this book would provide really clear-cut answers, but it turns out the reason it's so hard to spend in line with your values is because it's super hard to spend in line with your values. Like, you may buy organic food, but the retailer has exploitative labor practices. Or you may buy from a small family-owned business, and it turns out that the product you're purchasing was environmentally destructive during the production process. Maybe you're even buying environmentally friendly products from a certified B Corp, and then it turns out that they donate to a political candidate who you disagree with. Like, it is next to impossible to win. What she provides is a seriously well-researched book. It's not a ghost, that's a cat. Hello, Internet! What she provides is a seriously well-researched book that breaks down what to do with your money so that you can use it as a, quote, force for change through educating the reader on business practices, our place as the consumer, what questions we need to ask ourselves when using our money. Like, often our small actions feel good, but we kind of think of them as like a drop in the ocean, that we're not actually making any substantive changes with our tiny little purchases, or not purchases as they are. So the book starts with historical examples of small actions creating massive change, and her own personal experiences of seeing how much has changed over her lifetime. So although we can't win it all, and this feels like a seriously uphill battle, she gives hope that our individual actions can still make a real difference. She takes a, quote, pragmatic approach because she knows that no one is perfect. We're all just trying our best out here. I think she said it best. My focus is on equipping you with an in-depth understanding of the economic forces and practices that impact people and the planet within our economy, giving you a simpler way to evaluate your choices moving forward, and showing you the power you have as a wallet activist to create meaningful change, no matter your budget. Sounds nice? Cool. My name is Kate Moody, creator of the Saving Spree Budget, here to help you outsmart your money. I am driven by the idea that good people can do great things when they get control of their money. If you're ready to take control of your money, be sure to subscribe. The first half of the book is her giving a useful framework of considerations to consider before making a purchase so that you can buy products that align with your values. She gives 4 questions to ask when using your money. For whom? Can everyone do this? Is it too cheap? What am I funding? Each question has a chapter that fully explains the purpose of the question and gives examples showing the bonkers complexity of every purchase, from something as big as traveling to South America to something as small as buying a notebook. And because you may go insane trying to make every single dollar a 100% morally responsible choice, she recommends picking a few causes and making decisions based on those causes. Now, I already get paralysis by analysis in the toothpaste aisle at the grocery store, so reading about global supply chain and its effects on citizens, workers, the environment, animals, kind of makes me want to crawl under a rock. Or dismantle capitalism. I'm trying to find a nice middle ground. Now, I've already found these questions useful when I'm out and about, especially the "is it too cheap" question, since that's a quick signifier if something or someone was exploited along the way. Now, she provides more than education on supply chains and such. She actually gives useful reframing of our mental processes. Like, for example, she has a suggestion to stop using savior languages and to focus on simply reducing our impact on others and the environment rather than causing a problem and trying to fix it. So she says, instead of coming to the rescue, we're calling off the siege. If you care about climate change, don't eat a cow and then plant a tree to make up for it. It's simpler and more effective not to eat the cow to begin with. The second half of the book is a nerdy deep dive into different aspects of our lives so we can make better informed decisions. She talks about a lot of things, but I'll just mention a few here. You know, I had thought that using natural gas instead of electric was better for the environment and cooking, but she gives strong evidence that it's actually worse for our health and the environment. I was surprised to read that grass-fed beef takes much longer to put on weight than corn-fed. So therefore, they're putting out a lot more methane into the atmosphere. If you're concerned about the environment, then you should be eating corn-fed beef because they just produce less methane. And this is a fantastic example of how hard it is to win, and ultimately the best choice is to often not consume at all. Because in this situation, either you eat happy grass-fed cows who are dangerously warming the globe, you eat, let's call them sad cows, who aren't producing as much methane that's dangerously harming the globe, or you just cut back or stop eating cows entirely. She does really useful things like finally defining what all those organic, natural, humane, cruelty-free labels actually mean, which, like, by the way, what the hell kind of society are we living in that we actually have to have a label that says this animal wasn't tortured during process of raising this animal? That's messed up. Okay, that was my rant. Thank you. But I mean, I'm focusing on the food stuff just because I think about food a lot. She goes to a lot more areas than just talking about food. She goes into the history of redlining and racial discrimination and how you can be a good neighbor. She talks about how to bank more responsibly, what you can do to improve pay equity, how your work can affect change, how getting rid of your stuff may not actually be doing the good that you think it is, and lots more. The book is incredibly well researched. You get a tremendous history and breakdown of the systems that we are a part of, how they work, their complexity, which allows you to make more informed and better decisions aligned with your values. One of my favorite quotes that I took from this book was, if your activism has an aesthetic, it's probably more performative than impactful. The stuff that makes the biggest difference doesn't make a great Instagram post. And I think I like this because it resonates so well with good personal finance. Like, good personal finance habits are boring. Trading individual stocks is exciting, but no legit personal finance experts are going to endorse that course of action for the average person since it's so tremendously risky and complicated. I have the physical book, but I actually mostly listened to the audiobook, which was a better format for me to keep my attention. It was really good, read by the author, and luckily she's pleasant to listen to. So if you have a hard time getting through nonfiction like I do, check out the audio version. For my librarian take, which are really important set of markers to determine if you should read any book or, really you should be paying attention to any source. I don't bother to read books until I know whether the author is an authority and have taken a look at the book itself. So my big 3 qualifiers for whether or not I should be listening to this author, if they're a person of authority, or if they're just some blowhard who doesn't actually know what they're talking about, are education, their work or social background, and 3, a life experience. She said she went to UC Berkeley, which is a great school. I don't know what she studied. I don't know how well she did, but she went to that school, so okay, cool. Work or social background. I know she worked as a consultant on behalf of progressive political and issue campaigns, and before that as a public radio journalist. Okay, so working for progressives means she knows about progressive issues that I am concerned about, and I'll give props to journalists as they have great research skills, great BS detectors, and they tend to know how to translate data into interesting content that lay people can understand. As for life experience, she is a major figure in the FIRE movement and retired in her late 30s. So she seems to live by what she preaches. So I think she wrote this book because they're things that she is personally interested in. She personally wanted to do the research and learn more about. I mentioned I'm biased. I trust her because I followed her for a while and have found her to make well-founded, logical arguments that are interesting and informative, and frankly, I agree with her on her political opinions, so therefore I'm more likely to just agree with her in general because of, human psychology. But I'm going into this knowing that, and that's a key point. I'm going into this knowing that I am biased towards her. So that's when I turn to source material to help figure out if she's someone worth listening to. A librarian looks to see who is recommending the book, who wrote the blurbs, who's reviewed it, what did they say, what publishing company put their money behind the author. The blurbs are from legit women in the community. Cool. Vicki Robin, who I actually recommended her book, Your Money or Your Life, in my top personal finance books for beginners. Gemma Hartley seems good. Paula Pant, very famous. Okay, great. But there are no reviews from major reviewers that are in here. But all the reviews that are in here are from people in the community, not book reviewers, like professional book reviewers. And that's fine because this is a small book from a small press, so it's unlikely that it's going to get a read through on the Washington Post. When a book doesn't have any reviews from professional book reviewers, either that means it's a small book and it just sort of didn't get on their radar, which is what I'm thinking this happened here, or it got bad reviews, so they didn't put it in the book itself. But I find that unlikely. Having read the book, I doubt it got bad reviews. The publisher is Ben Bella Books, a really small house, but they are legit. And that's good because it means that they believe in this book enough that they spent a fair amount of money to give an advance, pay editors, pay for printing. Unlike a vanity publisher who the only person who believes in the book is the author, and the author pays for all that stuff that I mentioned. Then I flipped through the book and I see there are 40 pages of notes. 40 pages of references. And I think I'm in love a little bit. They are, by and large, super solid references to peer-reviewed journals, organizations like the World Economic Forum, NPR, Washington Post, super legit, high-quality journalism. And that, to me, says a lot about the quality of this book, that there are 40 pages of references. Read this book if you are concerned about using your money in an ethical manner. Don't read it expecting easy answers. I think I have more questions now that I've read it than I did when I started reading it. But I also feel better armed to make good choices with my money. Let me know in the comments if you plan on reading this. Cheers!